Throughout history, we've seen people make powerful choices that have resulted in transformative change and powerful movements. Nelson Mandela, Greta Thunberg, Mary Robinson, Malala Yousafzai, and Rosa Parks.
I resisted the idea of being mistreated and pushed around because of my race.
We have seen people power, or social movements, grow from an individual idea, from a small group's determination to change something that they felt to be unjust, unfair, or discriminatory. To make that one small change, creating a better world. Power can be defined as having control, authority, or influence over others. This can have positive and negative results. Power can be abused and seen as evil, biased, or undeserved. Power can be seen as good, even-handed, positive, and transformative. It can be something inherited, gained, or given for exercising values that will help move and empower others for the good of people and planet. Power inequalities have been in existence throughout the history of humanity, and they are still very much present in today's world. Power is key to understanding the relationships and structures that have historically shaped who we are and how we live, creating new and exciting opportunities, but also potentially negatively exploiting people and planet in the name of global capitalism and progression. Power is available to young people and within young people. How well they understand it, recognise it and use it may just determine the future of all life on this planet.
Good afternoon and welcome to Harnessing Young People's Powers with the Irish Girl Guides. Over the next hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on questions, we'll be taking you on a journey of guiding. Now, before we start, I want to have a bit of a fun icebreaker with everyone watching at home. I'm going to ask you one simple question. I want to know, what is the first word that pops to mind when you hear the word Irish Girl Guides or the phrase? So if you can pop your answers into that live chat, that would be fantastic. Don't feel shy. So just the first word that pops to mind. It can be anything. Okay, that's no issues whatsoever. So Leo, if you wouldn't mind. Hi Shannon, thanks for your answer. Would you put up the first slide? Cookies, yeah, we do. We do sell cookies. Social justice, community, yeah. Badges, yes, we love badges. Any more words that pop to mind? Nature, strength, volunteers. All excellent. Survival. Yeah, we do some survival activities from time to time. Fun, active. Yeah. They're fantastic words. So for this, I've asked a few of our youth members over the past week the same question. And I'm going to show you a slide now of their answers. So the answers that they came up with was friendship, leadership, confidence, adventure, tea and chats, because we do like having tea, yeah, skills, volunteering, fun, inclusion, challenges. So we do take part in kind of outdoor activities and hiking and adventures and camping, and we do sell cookies and we do badges, which I've seen in the chat. But what our girls or what our members get from taking part in these activities, that's what they remember. It's the skills they learn, it's the friendships they make, it's the adventures they have is what they remember and what they bring along with them through life. There's some great answers coming up there in the chat. A lot of badges. We love badges and guiding. So over the course of the summit, we are going to be hearing about lived life experiences in guiding and how you members take the lead in the programme. But first, I'm going to be starting off with the structure of the Irish Girl Guides. Sorry, Leo, can you go to the next slide? The one with the tree. Yeah, perfect. So we have 5 branches within the Irish Girl Guides. We have Ladybirds for 5 to 7-year-olds. We have Brownies for 7 to 10-year-olds. We have Guides for 10 to 14-year-olds. And we have Senior Branch for 14 to 30-year-olds. And that rounds up our youth members. And then from 18 plus, we have leaders. But any members aged between 18 and 30 can be both a leader and a senior branch. And each branch has a journey program, or each youth branch has a journey program, which involves doing badges, as is mentioned, developing skills, taking part in hikes and camps and having fun, and taking part in service projects and so much more. Our journey program also helps units structure their weekly meetings and what they do during the week and during camps. And it also helps members achieve their guiding awards. And for our senior branch members, for the 14 to 30-year-olds, they're also able to achieve their Goshka awards. Just got another answer there. Confidence building, yes. It's a major part of guiding is confidence building. So each journey program has 6 core adventures: guiding, outdoors, teamwork, change, life skills, and global awareness. So as our members progress through guiding, those core adventures stay the same, but the challenges change to suit their ages. We also have interest badges that cover so many different topics, from STEM, arts and crafts, fire safety, and book lover, to cultural diversity, voting, community action, and healthy friendships. There are so many different topics, and there's something for everyone in guiding. As you might have guessed from our name, we are a girl-only organisation. We do have a strong emphasis on outdoors, the environment, community responsibility, active citizenship, and global sisterhood. But IGG actively promotes a diverse and inclusive and welcoming area for all women and girls from all walks of life, and anyone who lives their life as female is welcome to join Irish Girl Guides. We believe that girls and boys need separate times and stages of life to develop to their fullest potential. And in society, certain expectations are put on girls and women, but in guiding, we tackle those stereotypes. Women take leadership positions, and they use their talents and abilities to contribute to a more equitable world. This develops girls' confidence and improves self-esteem, and offers a unique opportunity for safe space to grow and develop as active citizens of the world and to reach their full potential. So in a nutshell, that's the reason we're a girl-only organisation. Sorry, Leo, can you go back to the previous slide, the one with the mission statement? Yeah, perfect. So you can see there, that's our mission and our vision statements, which links back into the start. We have a lot of fun with the activities we do. So we go hiking and camping, we do arts and crafts, we sell cookies, we do loads of badges, we have teas and chats, but our main goal is to give girls confidence. And that's what our programme instills, is giving girls confidence to reach their full potential and to be active citizens in the world. Throughout this summit, we're going to learn about how different girls are taking the lead within their journey program. And we are now going to show you a video on how
Irish Girl Guides offers our members the chance to explore different interests, develop confidence, reach their potential, travel internationally, and follow their dreams, all while having fun and making lifelong friends. Our program is tailored to cater for girls from age 5 all the way to 30. However, the connection made with Irish Girl Guides is often for life, as the program is designed to grow with them and support them in sharing that passion for guiding on to the next generation. If you ask a member of Irish Girl Guides what the impact guiding has had in their lives, it'll depend based on their age, but usually they say they've made friends, they had fun, or tried something new.
The thing about guiding is probably the chance you get to meet new friends from different countries.
Really fun, my friends.
I enjoy trying new things and having new experiences.
However, we as an organisation have seen firsthand how much a girl has grown even in a few months, from talking to parents to watching them try new things.
Something different every week. For Aoife, there's the added benefit that she doesn't go to school in this community, so it's good for her to get to know other girls and other friends and make new friends, and I think that's really special.
Have you ever seen a child so overjoyed because they've learned how to do something new, mounted a challenge, or experienced something they've never thought imaginable? Well, leaders with Irish Girl Guides experience that sense of achievement from a girl and are happy they played a part in it. Whether that was learning to tie their shoelaces, conquer their fear of heights, or travel abroad for the first time. The benefits of Irish Girl Guides goes beyond what you will see at a weekly meeting, a camp, or a trip abroad. Guiding gives girls the confidence they need to go out into their community and continue their impact. We as an organisation want to continue to grow and give girls the opportunity to grow in confidence and discover the world around.
Hi everyone again. I first want to apologise for my lovely red face. My postman drove up as we were beginning and the room I'm in is very warm and I had to close the window because I was terrified he'd pop his head in the middle of the stream. So please ignore my lovely red face. But yes, so over the course of this evening, we'll be learning about different girls' experiences in guiding and how they're taking the lead on their programme. But I have one more ask of everyone watching. If you have any questions or any comments on guiding in general or anything that we talk about throughout the session, please put in the comments. Because we are doing a Q&A at the end, so we hopefully will be able to answer your questions at the end. And now I'm going to be joined by Teagan and Patricia, who went on an amazing journey last year and created a whole programme and a badge around their journey. So I think they'll be popping up on the screen in a few minutes. So the floor is yours.
Okay, hi guys. So I'm Teagan.
I'm Patricia.
And we were just asked here today to talk to you guys about our experience traveling to India with the Irish Girl Guides and how from that journey we started developing a national programme for the Irish Girl Guides following that.
So a little bit about us. I started Girl Guides when I was only 4 years old. My mom was a leader and my sister was already a brownies, so Girl Guides has always been a part of my life. I like Girl Guides because I know I can go to anywhere in the world, and if I know someone has been a guide now or in the past, I know I can be friends with them because we have something in common, whether they're from Ireland or from somewhere else entirely. So I like that. I've only been active really within Girl Guides for 1.5 years since I got back from India, but I've loved everything I've gotten to do so far, and I can't wait to see what I do next.
So a bit different from Patricia. I didn't start quite that young. I started when I was 9, and my decision to join Girl Guides was heavily influenced by the Fireside Girls from Phineas and Ferb, if any of you guys have watched that. Same as Patricia, I've only been particularly active in the last 1.5 years, following the trip from India and everything around that. And kind of thinking of what Sarah was saying earlier, for me, Guides means family and it means strength.
So we only met a year and a half ago. We originally met in April of last year at the first meetup for everyone going to India, but really we don't remember much from that weekend about each other at all. We became friends while actually in India. We have photos of us on the first day together with no idea how we became friends. So that's the power of Girl Guides. Yeah.
So basically, the trip to India was about discovering your leadership potential. So it was an opportunity for a group of 50 of us to travel to India in August of 2019 to become more confident, to grow, and to work in the community over there. So we got to explore India quite independently a bit. There was an element of, here's the name of a place, here's a group of 6 of you, go off, get a rickshaw back if you get lost. And I think that was actually really influential, because normally when you go around in a new country, you might have a tour guide or something like that. We just got told to go learn, it's okay if you mess up, everything will work out. And that really, I know for me, kind of helped me grow.
So 50 of us went over, and really none of us knew each other. We're from all different units, counties, everything around the country. Maybe a few people knew each other, but we all were still getting to know each other. And now you're halfway across the world together. So you really had that thing of, you're going to figure it out. And we weren't sure, but we did. So here we are. You got to see different places around India and just actually see the culture for what it is, rather than what you're shown as a tourist. We got to see the more authentic part. We got to work with schools and different charities over there, to talk to people of all ages. We got to talk to kids from 3 years old who were able to show us crafts and activities to do that we've never done before. There was people working with the elderly who had basically just been put in a home and they had nowhere else to go. And they loved seeing new people from different countries come over. And it was an amazing experience for us all to see.
Yeah, that we really, I think, as much as we got to help other people, I think we learned so much from the people that we met and what we were able to show them and what they were able to show us. And coming back from that trip, I think that gave us a lot of power and a lot of strength to work on developing our program following that.
So our first couple of days while we were in India, we were still getting very used to a whole new environment and what we were doing. So everything we went over to, we had ideas, but we didn't know what to expect. And we got over there, and all the staff where we were staying were absolutely lovely. And you knew that you could go talk to anyone and they would be nice and they would help you if you needed it. So we got to explore around Sangam, which is the World Centre for Girl Guides around the world in India. And we got to explore the area all around it. There was a sweet shop down the road that we went to probably almost every night. And it really just gave us an idea of what it can be like for other people in a different country to what we know, and give us the chance to learn that just because this is what you know doesn't mean this is what everyone else has experienced.
A big part of, I suppose, the theme of our trip was to learn about responsible consumerism, to see how other countries can do things differently that might be better for the environment, to see how we're doing things right and to see how they're doing things right, and see if we can get a nice mix of everything in the middle. When we were kind of running activities and working with people in the community, one thing that I think we all learned is that almost every plan you have will go slightly wrong. And that gave us a lot of flexibility and really helped us kind of mature into, you don't need a perfect plan for everything. You can make things work without one.
Going on our community action projects, which is where we each got to choose a charity and we went to work with them for a couple of days while we were there. I went to work in a school and we had this whole plan done out for our first day, and we probably got through maybe a quarter of it, because really nothing's going to go to plan, and you kind of just, you learn to adapt as you're going and to figure it out while you go, but you know that if something goes wrong, you have people there for you to help you and to get you back on track.
Yeah, it worked out for us. I think we were quite lucky that we had a huge group of us that were all supporting each other. And yeah, I think that's kind of India.
So when we came back, we were given the task of developing a badge to do with the Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So we all met up in Waterford last October to start the process of developing everything. So firstly, we had to decide what activities we wanted to do, what type of way we wanted to go about doing it. And we had to come up with 4 different groups of activities and crafts for the different age groups of girls taking part in all the branches. This was quite a daunting task to go into, as people who we didn't really know much going into this. And here we are developing a new program for Girl Guides that's going to go out to all of the country. So you don't really know what to expect going into that.
So our kind of first impression was, here's a task, separate into groups, make it work. We all just kind of sat there at first going, how are we going to do this? And then the ideas just started flowing, that we got given the tools and the resources that we needed to develop this, and got told the rest is up to you. Enjoy it, make something that you'd be interested to do and that you think people will enjoy. So we worked on bringing things that we'd learned growing up in guides into it, and we worked with things that we picked up on our trip to India. So that everything kind of that we'd learned over the last 6 months kind of just fell into place a little bit. And we got to work to develop something for the rest of the country.
So some of the ideas we had for activities and stuff, I know from my group, we actually got not even what we came up with. We were given these ideas by young kids living in India who really didn't have the means to be just playing with something once and throwing it out. Everything that you use, everything that's cooked, everything that you could ever use in India, they reuse all of it. Nothing goes to waste at all, even food. If you don't eat all your dinner, you have it for breakfast or lunch the next day. It was very reuse, recycle, and it's a great way to live, because they're a massive country, and if they didn't do that, I would be worried for what Earth would look like now. But we're lucky they're doing so good at it.
So they were some of the things that we brought into the badges. So we worked on the badge in the different groups for a weekend, and then we had to go our separate ways again. So a lot of how we developed these was actually online, through texting, through documents that we had all shared together. So I think that was probably one of the most interesting tasks, and at the time we found that quite difficult. Now I'm sure we're all masters at doing everything online, but when we started this, that was quite new to us, because obviously we had been able to meet up previously, and it was before the whole online learning thing. But we developed our main ideas, and then after a couple of months, a few of us met up in Dublin to kind of finalize things a bit more and put a bit more structure on what we were doing. So I think there was probably 7 of us that went up to Dublin to do that. So one person from each kind of branch group. So I went up to kind of share what the guide age group badge was going to be like. And
for the senior branch group, and we made it up as we went, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had the launch of the badge where it was shown to all the leaders around the country at our annual branch weekend in Athlone back in February. And we didn't finish the program until 11 o'clock the night before we launched it. And the speech Teagan and I did to launch the badge, we finished between 2 a.m. that night and 8 a.m. a couple hours beforehand. So really going for getting every minute to count.
But guides can become expert last minuters, but being able to take a program that we had absolutely no idea what was going to be like in October to launching a full finished program in February, it was an incredible experience. That it was so empowering to get to be doing something that's going to impact so many people on like a national level. That at the start we were just a bunch of girls trying to work through it and seeing what we could come up with. And by the end of it, during quarantine over the summer, we had hundreds of girls completing these badges and working on responsible consumerism and learning how to recycle better and how we can make better use of the things that we use, things that we buy, and how things are made.
When we started back in October, we really had no idea the impact we could have. At the time when we first talked about doing this badge and going to India, the two of us were 14 and 16, I believe. Yeah. So at that age, you really don't think you can do anything like that. And you kind of look at it, and I remember thinking there's not a hope I could do that. I never thought that I'd be able to take part in something like that. And getting to see the launch of the badge and so many girls taking part and enjoying completing the badge was very empowering to see, and really not something you'd expect, but something you like to see.
That I know myself, I was often really intimidated when we were doing our bigger meetings with the leaders and the other girls who were working on this badge, because quite often we were the two youngest in the room. And at the start, we kind of didn't feel like we were ready or we belonged or we knew what we were talking about. But we got listened to and we got more confident, and we realized that it doesn't matter how old you are, your ideas are still good and they can still matter. So one of the biggest things that I've taken from this is it doesn't matter how old anyone is. If you've got something to say, speak up, and the right people will hear it and the right people will listen to you. And that can make like a huge impact either on one person, on a few people that you're friends with, your school, your community, or a group like Guides.
So in November, we got asked to speak and represent IGG, going to Family House in Dublin to talk in front of the President of the United Nations General Assembly. So we went up to Dublin and we had a week to write our speech and to get everything ready on different badges. And in true Girl Guide fashion, as we always do, we finished the speech on the train to Dublin, and the first practice we had together was in the taxi on the way there.
But we actually live on different parts of the country. So I'm living in Waterford.
I'm living in Derry.
So most of what we do over FaceTime, which is really fun.
It's very fun, but a bit difficult.
But because of all the opportunities that we have through guiding, we spent a surprising amount of time together over the last year. We were traveling all over the country, giving presentations, working on the badge, and getting to experience a whole new level of what guiding can be.
So because of us only really becoming active and doing these events within the last year and a half, we went into it really having no idea what we were doing. So we were lucky enough to figure it out together, so that helped. But as at the age we are, going into a thing like this with such a big organization, that so many people know and you're going to represent it, it's scary, and it's very scary to do, and no one can tell you differently than that. But the thing we've learned from it is you can do it, and if you want to do it, go for it, because there will always be people there to support you and to help you do it if you need it.
That over the last year, I think, and even before that, like from growing up within Guides, I've gotten to have so much power, and like I've grown so much through the organization, and I've gotten to learn responsibilities, and I've gotten to have a voice, and that voice has helped me a lot. It's hopefully helped other people, and it's just become a huge part of who I am and what I do.
For me, I've gotten to do so many different events and activities since I first started doing these things. And it's stuff I never thought I'd be able to do. Like, you don't go into this thinking you are able to do these things. You kind of look at it and say, oh, but these other people have so much more experience and they know what they're doing. So you try and just let everyone else do it and learn from it. But eventually you just got to jump in and do it as well, because it's the easiest way to learn, and you're going to have fun doing it. You really will.
Yeah. So I'd say that's probably the majority of our ramblings. Hopefully you've gotten to take something from all of that. And if you've any questions, we can answer them later or whenever through the comments.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
We're working on a future where learning new ways to be sustainable becomes part of our everyday lives.
We are looking for a future where young people don't have to be worried about what the world will look like in 50 years.
Everyone is treated equally. Everyone feels empowered to make the world a better place, where climate change is no longer a threat and we live in a sustainable world.
We're working for a future where we can go to the beach and swim in the sea without finding rubbish and plastic that can choke and kill the animals.
We are working for a future where our seas, oceans and lakes aren't filled with plastic.
We're working for a future where young women and girls can make positive impacts within their communities.
We're working for a future where we eradicate single-use plastics.
We're working together for a future where we no longer have any endangered species.
The Irish Girl Guides are working for a future where young women and girls are empowered and have the confidence to be the change makers.
Over the past few months, we've concentrated on climate action. We launched our Sustainable Development Goal 12 Responsible Consumption and Production Badge, where members learn about fast fashion, are challenged to go plastic free and to take part in litter picks within their communities.
Camp Echo, which was a sustainable camp at home for our Cedar Branch members, where they came up with activities to help younger members learn about sustainable living while completing their bronze and silver adventure journeys.
We're working for a future where girls and young women have the confidence to speak out about issues they're interested in.
Hi everyone again. So as you might have guessed from the last section, the Irish Girl Guides is an organisation of 11,000 members, but we're also a member of an international organisation with 10 million members worldwide. And the organisation's name is the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, or you might hear us refer to it as WAGs in the next few sections. So now I'm going to be joined by Emily and Beth, who will be speaking about an opportunity they got to do last year was to attend Juliette Low Seminar, and it was all over the world last year, and they're going to tell you a bit more about it now.
Hello. So last year I went to Juliette Low Seminar in Poland.
And I went to the Juliette Low Seminar in Oman. They were the two of 18 locations that had happened in last year, which was an amazing opportunity for myself and Emily and so many others from Irish Girl Guides and the World Association of WAGs. So I guess I'm so it was great to get to go to an opportunity. I had been lucky enough to travel abroad with Irish Girl Guides before. I had gone to Sangam in India, like the girls in the previous slide, when I was younger, and also traveling to different countries like Germany and England and different trips and events. But this was the first time I was going to go to an event all by myself where I knew very little about it. So after a flight, well, 3 flights and a couple of near misses in a few airports, I made it to Oman, where I was met with the most amazing Omani hospitality, where I got to meet girls from all over the world, everywhere from Canada, Australia, Lebanon, Libya, people I would never have met other than going on this event. And the event focused on leadership and the Sustainable Development Goal 5. But as you can see here, I learned so much more about myself as well as those topics while I was on there. I got to try everything and anything from Omani food to camelback ride, and we shared our cultures over campfires, which are those sort of things that we saw in the comments at the very beginning, are things that we associate with guiding. But I learned through that week that actually what's guiding to me was very different to what guiding and scouting was like in different countries. But it was great to meet all these new people and friends. So the week was actually based on the Sustainable Development Goal 5 and leadership learning. So on the next slide there, you will see some of so we spent the week learning about Sustainable Development Goal 5, which is all about gender equality. And each participant in each of the 18 hubs was learning about the same topic, but I suppose each of our own experience of that topic was altered by the participants there. And one of the huge learnings I took away from that a week was that cultural and personal experience change your view of gender inequality so much. So because of where my hub was located, there was a huge influence from the Muslim culture, and because of the participants and also the sort of experience we were having there. So we respected Muslim prayer time and things like that, but we also I learned so much more about their experience with gender and gender inequality versus my own here in Ireland, and learned how much of a difference what I expected from gender equality and they did. We also spent time learning about how it linked to the other Sustainable Development Goals, which are so important in terms of getting ourselves towards a more sustainable environment, a bit like that video showed earlier. The other element of the whole week was leadership, and it was about finding our own leadership. So it focused on what they call the leadership mindsets. So we spent a lot of time reflecting on our own leadership skills and talents, and how we could support others in growing our own leadership. So we talked about reflection, innovation, critical thinking, global mindset, and lots of these other little elements that are really important in developing yourself as a full thing. So for me, the one thing that I had been a leader with IGG for years at this stage, about 4 or 5 years before I went on this event, and I'd met so many great leaders and taken so many opportunities. But the one thing I'd never considered as a role that I needed to develop as part of leadership was my reflection piece. I was always going, okay, let's go to the next event. Let's see what next is on. So it was great to take that time during the week to reflect on what I was doing as a leader myself, and also how I could go through the next steps and support the girls I was leading in their reflection. And then the one thing I learned so much. So unlike some of the other people's experiences who took part in the Juliette Low Seminar, my seminar was happening in both English and in Arabic. So half of our sessions were in Arabic and half of our sessions were in English. So it meant I learned how much English doesn't really help me. I got very comfortable with headsets and flipping them on and off. And which was unique in that sense. So in terms of the other ones, I know some people attended sessions that were in English only speaking locations. So it was definitely a new thing, but it was great. We were still able to find common ground through the use of interpreters and morning coffees, and finding who had the best secret source of stronger coffee in the mornings, or who was a morning person, who was happy to speak up in a group. We somehow managed to figure that all out while not all speaking the same language, which was a great experience. And so then everybody who takes part in an event like this, and particularly this event, we normally try and bring it home. So like you heard from Patricia and Teagan in their section, how they went after their event in India, came home and developed the Responsible Consumption Badge. We have all been tasked to do our 100 Girls project. This is where we try and impact 100 girls based on the learnings we've learned in that week and expand our own leadership further. So now, as we all know, our world has kind of been a bit turned upside down in the last, I suppose, 6-8 months with COVID. And so we've all learned also, we are all now having to adapt our, whatever our 100 Girls project was going to be something that can be suitable for either online or as activity packs, or depending on our project, of course, what we wanted. So I'm in the process of creating a female empowerment sessions, and they of course are going to be adapted to the virtual guiding, and they'll really focus on like helping the participants learn about how to identify their own skills, share those skills in a way that is positive and that they can talk about them in a comfortable way, breaking down the stereotypes and sort of the barriers when people think about interviews and go, I don't want to do an interview, what if they say no? And so to kind of take away the stigma related to interviews. And then there'll be lots of videos and helpful tips on sort of invisible barriers that we don't necessarily see as women when we apply for things in leadership, but they are there. And so I suppose the real aim of my sessions, while my sessions are going to focus on Irish Girl Guides with the 100 girls there, I really want our members to be able to then take those opportunities that I've been so lucky to go and get, but also then have the skills to go out and take on leadership positions within their whole lives. So whether that's in their work or in their schools or whatever they go on to do, that they have those skills that they can go, okay, I can confidently prepare myself for an interview and talk about my skills and identify how what I've done in guiding could reflect to the real world, or what I've done in the real world will reflect to guiding. So it was great to identify that, and I can't wait to get to work with the girls on my project and see how they find the project themselves. But that was sort of my experience of Juliette Low Seminar in Oman. I'm sure Emily has a very different experience of what Juliette Low Seminar was like for her.
Yeah, so I went to Poland, and there was 30 of us from all around the world, and you might actually see in the background of the picture there's actually some boys at my hub, and that's because some of the member organisations in WAGs do actually allow boys into theirs. So we kind of had a unique experience in that we got to hear how boys feel on gender equality for women, because primarily it's seen as a women's issue, and I think they learned a lot and we learned a lot from them at the same time. So if you just want to go on to the next slide there, please, Leo. Thank you. So I just did one on what is the Juliette Low Seminar. And these are things that I took from the WAG's website. So it's an intercultural, international and inspirational and international experience. And I think there are 3 words that just bring it down. Because you get this unique experience where you get to learn about gender equality with people from all over the world. And as Beth said, what we would consider gender equality in Ireland is completely different to what girls all around the world would. And we really are living completely different, well, we're obviously living completely different lives, but it's a completely different issue depending on where you are around the world. And despite us being brought up in different societies and experiencing different things, we were all able to learn from each other and offer advice. And it really came in handy when we had to develop our projects throughout the week. Like people who had never met before, we all just sat down and we said, well, you could do this, and what if you do this, and what if you adapt yours to do this, even though we didn't even really know each other's situations up until like 7 days beforehand. And then my next slide is about the leadership module. So again, this is the quote from WAGs. For WAGs, leadership is a shared journey that empowers us to work together and bring positive change to our lives, the lives of others, and our wider society. And I think everything we do in guiding, it's not just about what you learn in guides and you can apply to guides, you can apply it throughout your life. You can apply it in school for projects, again for job interviews, and for leadership roles within your job. It's everything you learn you can share with people, and you can apply it throughout your day-to-day life as well. And then my next slide is the actual mindsets. So there's 6 of them, and you'll see reading through them, one of them doesn't, they all work together. So you have your reflective mindset, and that's looking into yourself and your experiences and your values and how you can apply that to your leadership skills. And that's definitely one that I think I struggled with as well. I don't reflect at all. I'm very much on to the next thing. And we really had to kind of sit down, I think, at the start of the week, and we had to talk about what we do as leaders and what qualities we have as a leader. And I think a lot of people will agree, when you ask somebody about yourself, or somebody says to you, tell me about yourself, tell me what you do, you kind of sit there and you're like, oh God, I organize meetings and I sing songs and at the campfire. But when you sit down and when you think about it, the skills that being a guide leader or being a leader anywhere in your life gives you, you could list them and list them without even realizing it. And then the collaborative mindset is all about teamwork and how to work as a team. And again, apply different perspectives within your leadership team. We were put into different groups throughout the week. So we were meeting other people, we were working with different people. And again, people with different backgrounds, different religions, different experiences, and we all had to talk about those and apply these to what we were doing as a team. And I think it was just a really valuable experience to be able to experience that. And then of course our main one was SDG 5 for gender equality, and that is one of the mindsets as well, and that's how to learn how to overcome gender barriers. As Beth said, like the glass barrier, something I'd never heard of, and then when you talk about it, you're like, oh God, that kind of does resonate to me. And it really was, the whole thing is just a completely invaluable experience. And then my last slide then is just about my project. So I wanted to develop a leadership badge, and I wanted to call it Leading Out Loud. That was kind of our slogan for the week. And I wanted to incorporate it into the journey program. So our whole journey program, everything you do from your first day in Ladybirds up until your senior badge till you're 30, over 30, it's all about developing your leadership skills. And it's done in a way that the girls don't realize necessarily. They don't always realize what they're learning and what they're developing until you say to them, sing that song with the girls, and they're like, oh God. And then they realize they can do it because they learned how to speak up and how to have confidence throughout all these different badges that they've done. So I wanted to develop a badge that would show the girls directly what they're learning and make them aware of it. So I have here, these are kind of some of the activities I have planned for the badge. Obviously, it's kind of been put on hold for the minute. I'm kind of hoping to adapt it that I can reach the 100 girls online. So first I have learning about the WAG's leadership mindsets, because I think it was a really educational part of my experience, and I think the girls would really benefit from it. I think once you look at the 6 of them listed out, and you realize how much goes into you being as a leader, and then explore the different types of leaderships. Obviously, we all have different personalities, we have different qualities, different strengths and skills. And I think for girls, our guiding age is 10 to 14, and I think for girls in around that age, it would really benefit them to have a look and think, I'm good at talking and I'm good at organizing things, and see how these skills all apply to be them as leaders, and be it them doing stuff in school or just organizing something in guides. You can see my next one is lead part of the meeting. Something they can do individually if they want, they can organize it as a group, and it's a way that they can look through their leadership skills, look through the skills and qualities they would have listed about themselves previously, and think, okay, what can I plan to do with the girls at this meeting? And then discuss SDG 5. This is one I'm kind of struggling to find a fun and educational activity around for the girls, but I think obviously we're doing a lot of work with the sustainable development goals, and I think including SDG 5 would be a big part of this badge. I don't think I could have really done a leadership badge and not included it, because our slogan is giving girls confidence. We want to show our girls that they can do anything they want, and if they just put their mind to it, they can achieve whatever they want in life. And I think by them understanding how to achieve gender equality would be a big part in giving them confidence as young women to go ahead and to get what they want out of life. And then finally, I have discussed influential women in their lives and in our society. So one activity we did was we were given cards of amazing women who had achieved amazing things out of lives from all over the world, and we had to kind of look at them and think, what skills did they use to get where they are, and essentially discuss them and try and relate them back to us. And I think for girls who are 10 to 14, doing that but relating it back directly to them and making it a bit more personal, having them think, who do they look up to in life, be it somebody on the telly, an athlete, a famous singer, or it could be in their own life, it would be their friend, their sister, their mom, their auntie. how they look up to them and essentially look at what skills they might have, be it in their job or just in general, just who they are as a person, and think how they are amazing leaders in their own lives, and then being able to relate that back then to them. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I got like Emily has said, our two experiences are so different but so
completely
similar in the
different.
same
Yeah.
way. And everybody who takes part in sort of a guiding event, whether they're at the same event together or at the same event in different locations, will always come out with a different experience of leadership and the event itself. So I wish we could all bring you along with us so that you could actually see the moments that you have there and the learnings, because it's so brilliant to actually experience those, but only you can of course only be there and experience them. A picture only says so much.
Each event really is just one in a lifetime. Like, they're so completely different. You wouldn't go to the same event twice and experience the exact same thing, and that's, I think, what makes them amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Emily and Beth. That was amazing. So the last two sessions were so amazing. Wonderful experiences, especially of international guiding. But the whole leadership program, the whole kind of this learning skills does start from the age of 5. So we have patrols in our units, and girls kind of take the lead. They look after younger members in these units or newer members. And it does start from the age of 5. But once you get to senior branch age, you do get these amazing opportunities to travel. But recently we got recognised for having a lovely STEM program. So we have an engineering badge, we have an aviation badge, we have a science investigator badge, we have a space badge, and then we have a program on online safety. And we recently won an award in diversity in tech for the mentorship program. And we're just going to show you a quick video on that there now.
Nominees were judged on the level of commitment they have shown their mentees and the unique ways in which they have developed their skills. We welcome Blonde Carolyn, HR Director of Pfizer, to announce the nominees for this category.
And the winner is Irish Girl Guides. Congratulations, Irish Girl Guides.
This award is only possible because, like their founders, Irish Girl Guide volunteers continue to move with the times, remaining current and up to date with all opportunities for learning for our girls. If they can see it, they can be it. Our leaders encourage curiosity, perseverance, determination and self-belief, true mentorship qualities.
Hi everyone again. First off, I just want to thank all our volunteers and all our leaders within the Irish Girl Guides. They're the reason why we can do programs like this. They're the reason why the organisation runs the way it does. And they put in so much effort every week. We have a joke saying it's our week. Sometimes it's a bit more if you get involved at regional level or national level. So we have regional committees, and then we have different national committees based on membership, on international, on different branches. And we're very lucky this evening to be joined by our International Commissioner, Jenna. It's just going to pop up on the screen there in a minute. And she's amazing experience in guiding in Ireland and abroad. And she's going to tell you a bit more about it.
Thanks, Sarah. So like Sarah said, I'm the International Commissioner for Irish Girl Guides. And really that role is about giving girls opportunities to travel abroad, because as you will have heard from the previous presentations, the really special thing about guiding is that it's a global sisterhood. And, you know, Irish Girl Guides is Ireland is a country, you know, within the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, which we call WAGS for short. And WAGS has 150 countries as members and over 10 million Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. So it really is a global movement. And, you know, as Patricia said in her presentation, the connection of guiding is really what's so important. And if you meet someone from a different country, you know, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, different ages, if you've had different educational experiences, or, you know, if you have different jobs, guiding is the connection. So that's a really, you know, special thing. And I've been lucky enough to be a volunteer with WAGS Europe region. So within WAGS, there's 5 regions. And WAGS Europe are really active in terms of their volunteer working groups. So in the last few years, I've been part of the WAGS Europe External Relations Working Group. And really, that's a group of young women across Europe from different countries who are trying to raise awareness of WAGS in other platforms and of guiding. So, for example, we take part in the European Youth Forum as a international non-governmental organisation, and participate in various events run by the Youth Forum, like Yo Fest. So Yo Fest was a festival for youth across Europe that took place in June 2018 when I attended. And I attended with all the members of the External Relations Working Group. And we ran 2 workshops. So the first one was on a WAGS program called Stop the Violence. And then the second workshop was on kind of a U Report program. So U Report is a partnership with WAGS and UNICEF, and basically it's a platform that young people can use to share their views and their experiences. So it's a poll that you can do on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and they focus on different topics. So for example, we did a poll on young women across Europe and across the world being able to get their first job, and we wanted to know, you know, what is it more difficult for young women to get their first job? And we had over 15,000 respondents to the survey, and 52% of people felt that yes, it was more difficult for young women than young men to get a job. So we shared those results at our Yo Fest workshop with other young people across Europe to be able to demonstrate, you know, just how guiding or, you know, how guiding can have an impact by sharing these statistics, and, you know, how we can speak out to support young women. And one of the things that WAGS has then on a global level is the WAGS Advocacy Champions. So this is a group of young women, and it's about speaking out. You know, advocacy is a key part of girl guiding, to be able to stand up for what you believe in. And it's really a basic part of our movement, because in 1910, when guiding was founded, it was because a group of girls spoke out at a Boy Scout rally in Crystal Palace and said, we want something for girls. And that's really about what it is. And, you know, we in Irish Girl Guides encourage our youngest members, ladybirds, to speak out. And it might be on a very small level, you know, what do they want to do with their weekly meeting? And then, you know, it goes up through the units. And as you have heard from Patricia and Teagan, you know, they got the chance to develop a badge. So, you know, they were able to speak out on something important to them, like responsible consumerism, and, you know, share that across Irish Girl Guides. So really the WAGS Advocacy Group, the WAGS Advocacy Champions Group, is a group of young women who go to different global platforms, like, for example, the Commission on the Status of Women, or the Conference of the Parties, which is an environmental conference. And they're really about, you know, WAGS enables these young women to be in the room as global decision makers, to be able to say what are the issues that are affecting young women, and how, you know, governments and countries can improve the lives of young women, and, you know, to be able to speak out on that. So I got the chance to attend the Commission on the Status of Women in 2016, 2016, I think it was. And you might be saying, what's the Commission on the Status of Women? Well, it's a principal body of the United Nations which is dedicated to gender equality and the empowerment of women. And every year WAG sends a delegation of young women. So this is from CSW 61, the conference I attended. 45 member states of the Commission took part. There was hundreds of government officials. And in the end, they were all working towards one goal, which was the outcome document, also called the agreed conclusions. So at the end of the conference, there was a list of actions that countries could go back home and take that list of actions and, put it into their national policies to improve the lives of women and girls across the world. And attending this conference was really important for WAGs because, to be in the same room as a decision maker who will make a decision affecting your life is something that's really powerful. So, for example, we got to meet our country delegations. There's a picture of us there. There was 11 youth delegates that attended the event on behalf of WAGs, and they were from all those different countries. We spent 2 weeks at the United Nations, and we did lots of different things. But the main thing was that we want to see improvements for women and girls across the world. So me coming from Ireland, I'd have a different perspective, let's say, from someone from Chile. And, that's one of the really cool things about guiding. And like the girls have mentioned before, is that when you're in a room with people from a different country, you look at things from a different perspective. You see, okay, well, in Ireland, women are entitled to own property, but in other countries, that's not the case. And how might that look? So it's really important to get that different perspective. And that's why it's so good that there's delegates from, lots of different countries representing WAGs at the Commission on the Status of Women. So if you go on to the next slide then, please, Leah. So what was the role of WAGs at the Commission on the Status of Women? Well, first of all, WAGs is the largest global movement for every girl and any girl. And they wanted to influence the outcome document by really speaking to decision makers. So talking to people from different countries and asking them to take on board, the voices of us as young women at the conference. And we wanted to raise WAGs' visibility and say, look, we're young women, we're here, we want to have an input into what you're deciding about us. And that was really powerful and really got us in a lot of rooms with decision makers because we were the ones who were being discussed. And so how did they go about that? Well, there was side events and parallel events which are run by lots of different kind of bodies, different like NGOs, and there was caucus meetings. So that would be when groups of countries and would get together and discuss, what the decision makers were talking about. We met with country delegations. We attended briefings for NGOs, and then we also took part in the CSW Youth Forum, which was really cool to be able to contribute in a way where there was young people in the room, and then those messages being shared with the people who were going to be part of the negotiations when it came to the outcome document. Can you go on to the next slide? So what were our key messages? So this is something that was important because we wanted to all be on the same page. So before the event, we had some calls with each other and with the WAGs team, and we came up with 8 key messages that were really important for girls and young women across the world. So first of all, invest in girls. And that, if you don't invest in girls, then when it comes to women, women can't be expected to speak out. So it starts very young with the girl. Non-formal education is key. So as important as school is, things like guiding and extracurricular activities are also really important. And tackling norms and stereotypes. So this was a big one because obviously, there are stereotypes of what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a woman, but those aren't always necessarily correct. So we want to change the view of people and say that, girls are strong, girls can speak out, girls do know what they want, and this is what we want. Body confidence and self-esteem. So, not to be body shaming women and girls, make the invisible visible. So this was a key message that we were trying to get across, that data is really important. If you don't ask girls, if you don't survey girls, if you don't, look at the data, you can't make a good argument for what girls need because you don't know what they want. And then economic empowerment starts with girls. So the theme of that Commission on the Status of Women was about economic empowerment. So to be able for girls to be able to attend school and then have an education, then they can actually enter the workforce, is really important. And then that leads into valuing girls' education, and finally eliminating violence. So, you know, WAGS has a program called Stop the Violence, which we run within Irish Girl Guides, and other member organisations of WAGS also run it in their home countries. And it's about, you know, being able to kind of look at activities that are age appropriate to be able for girls to speak out against gender-based violence. And the key thing was for us was whenever the decision makers were drafting the agreed conclusions, the outcome document, we wanted to make sure all of our messages were in there. And we wanted to, you know, if they came back and they hadn't mentioned non-formal education, we would draft some statements to them to say, please, can you include this? This is really important to us as young women. Please include, you know, value in girls' education. One part was they would usually only mention women in their statements, but we want them to mention girls too, because it starts with girls. And so that was really important to us. And, you know, there was a lot of countries that were involved, and we wanted to be able to say, please go home to your governments and implement the advice from the conference, and, you know, make lives better for girls and women. And then the next slide. So what did WAGS achieve by attending the Commission on the Status of Women? So first of all, we had 2 successful events that we ran to raise awareness about, you know, girls' rights and about the WAGS programs. Everyone within the WAGS delegation got a chance to give some speeches at various events and to raise awareness of these key messages. The agreed conclusions, in one respect, were a bit disappointing from that conference because they didn't make any reference to non-formal education and very little reference around violence against women and girls. But on the other hand, we did get a lot of other key messages across, and there were some country delegations that were really good at supporting what we were saying. And I think it was powerful, the fact that we were young women saying this to them, please include. They were more likely, let's say, than maybe if they had been hearing from somebody else. And, you know, those events that we ran were in association with different people. So, you know, for example, the first one there, we ran it with UN Women, Dove and Teen Vogue, and it's challenging the image myth and trying to improve, you know, stop stereotypes and, you know, all of that. And then the other side event then we ran was on the other WAGS program, Stop the Violence, and that was in association with UN Women and the German delegation, and as well Men Engage Alliance, because it's obviously important to include men in the conversation as well. So then, can you go on to the next slide? So then you report, that's briefly what I spoke about earlier. So I had the chance to deliver a statement on behalf of WAGS, and that was at the interactive expert panel on enhancing the availability of data. And that was because we want to be able to show data on girls and women and have that as a reason for implementing change and improving, you know, the outcomes for girls and women across all societies around the world. So that's a platform that we suggested that they could use to be able to connect with young women and girls and have their views heard. And the next slide. And then WAGS also has an advocacy toolkit. So this is a publication on their website. It's a guide for girls and young women who want to start their own advocacy campaigns. So, you know, a girl might decide in her community something isn't right and she wants to change it, but she doesn't know how to go about doing that. Well, this toolkit will enable her to be able to change something that she's unhappy with. So it's a step-by-step guide about how to speak out and change something. It doesn't have to be something huge across the whole world. It might be something small within her community that she doesn't agree with. And it includes real-life examples of girl-led advocacy around the world. So it's a really important resource, not just for Girl Guides, but for any girl or young woman who wants to change something in her society, in her village, in her country, you know, and it's practical help to be able to do that. And then the next slide. And then finally, what is the kind of the other thing that WAGS offers? Well, WAGS has a global volunteer pool, and that's made up of volunteers from all across the world who want to contribute to the leadership program of WAGS. So, for example, I'm part of the global volunteer pool. And I had the chance to facilitate at the Juliette Low Seminar, which was the event that Beth and Emily spoke about just earlier. And so I actually attended a Juliette Low Seminar myself in 2012. So I was delighted to have the chance in 2019 to facilitate that event in Switzerland. So I worked together with a group of facilitators across lots of different countries. There were 6 of us, and we planned the session for the girls. So like you heard from Emily and Beth, even though it was the same event, it was very different because it was different facilitators working on a program that would enable the young women in their hub and their country hub to be able to go back and deliver their 100 Girls projects, which was really cool. It was great to be part of something, you know, so global. And for so many young women to get a chance to attend the Juliette Low Seminar, usually, you know, it might be a lot less because they only introduced this hub model recently. So there was 18 hubs across the world where there was young women working on this leadership program and developing their leadership skills and really stepping outside their comfort zone. And I guess that's one of the really good things about attending an international event. You're right outside your comfort zone. I think it was a Teagan that said she was sent off in a rickshaw in India and just had to fend for herself. And that's one of the really cool things about guiding, to be able to do that. And then finally, I guess, you know, in my role as international commissioner, I've had the chance to have these amazing opportunities, and I want to be able to, you know, enable other young women coming up through Irish Girl Guides to have these chances as well, because it definitely is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it makes you really think about who you are as a person and brings out those things that you may not, you know, find anywhere else. You know, in school you might not be encouraged to speak out and, you know, speak up for the things that you believe in. So I think guiding really is such a safe space to be able to do that, and the international aspect brings a whole new kind of dimension to it as well. So yeah.
Thanks, fantastic. So we've talked a lot about skills and kind of experiences that you get through guiding. And a few years ago, we came up with this program to show that guide skills are life skills. So it includes 8 transferable skills. So organisation, leadership, teamwork, project planning, interpersonal management, communication, and problem solving. And we just made a nice little video on it to show how you can take what you do in your weekly meetings at Guides into a job interview or put it on your CV. So we're just going to show you the video there now.
Dear Leah Cunningham, Tyson and Ray would like to invite you to attend an interview on Friday. Yes!
Excuse me, Miss Cunningham.
Yes?
They'll see you now.
Welcome, Leah. Please take a seat.
We'll get right to it. We like what we see on paper, but we need to know more about you, the kind of person you are.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Tyson and Ray prides itself on nurturing strong leaders. Tell us of a time when you have proven yourself a leader amongst others.
I was leading my ladybirds and brownies in group activities. Okay, girls, keep spinning. 10 seconds left. Leading the children means balancing both strict and a fun approach.
Very good. Tell us a time when you had to work as a team to achieve a common goal.
With the guides, we would go on a lot of camping trips. It's getting late, girls. I think we'll camp here for tonight. By the time we arrived, we were shattered, but all of the girls worked together as a team and we had the tents up in minutes.
And finally, we want to know if you have good organisational skills.
Can you give us an example?
Well, there was the time when I was in charge of the Girl Guides conference. There was a lot of work to be done. Chairs had to be sourced, catering organised, a PA system installed. It was a lot of work in a short space of time. As well as coordinating all of the different elements, I was also delivering the opening speech.
Well, Leah, we're very impressed, but we've one last question. When can you start?
So hi everyone again. I hope you have enjoyed our session so far. Just a quick question or activity for you. If you have any questions or queries or comments, we will be doing a Q&A soon. And so if you want to throw any questions into the chat, that'd be fantastic. Now we are actually joined by a guest who used to be a Girl Guide, a member of the Irish Girl Guides, Mary Fitzgerald, who's a writer, researcher and consultant, specialising in Euro-Mediterranean region, in particular focus with Libya. She's conducted research for the International Crisis Group, the European Council of Foreign Relations, and many other organisations, and she has published in The Economist, The New Yorker, The Washington Post, and The Financial Times. I think Mary's going to pop up on our screen there in a few seconds. Hi, Mary. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, all.
So you've had just amazing career. Do you want to kind of delve a bit deeper into how you got started, kind of high points, low points?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to take part this evening. I'm delighted to join you all. So I am these days what I call a recovering journalist. I've spent most of my career working as a journalist. I wanted to be a journalist for as long as I could remember. And I started off my career actually in Belfast in Northern Ireland. In the years after the peace agreement. And Northern Ireland was a very interesting place to start off a career as a journalist, as a junior reporter. The kind of stories I had to cover at that time really were an excellent preparation for what I did later in my career, which is actually the kind of journalism I wanted to do all along, which was to report from across the world, report from societies in conflict or societies moving on from conflict, as Northern Ireland was doing at that time. So I spent a number of years working in Northern Ireland, and then I moved to the Middle East. I lived in Jordan for a number of years. And then I came back to Ireland to take up a job with the Irish Times as their foreign affairs correspondent. And that basically meant that I was based in Dublin, but traveling the world. My beat, as we say in journalism, was the world. So I reported from over 40 countries across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And it was, a very exciting work, as you can imagine. Sometimes I had to drop everything to fly off somewhere to cover a story if there was a big story happening somewhere, be it a conflict or a natural disaster. I remember one Christmas being at home with my family and with my mom in Cork, and the news breaking that Benazir Bhutto, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, had been assassinated. And I had met Benazir Bhutto just a few months before. I had spent a lot of time in Pakistan. So before I knew it, I was on a plane and flying to Pakistan to cover the fallout from her assassination, spending New Year's Eve in Pakistan that year, which was not part of my original plan. So it was a very unpredictable, it was very unpredictable work, but journalists, it's often said of journalists that we are the first drafters of history. We write or broadcast or record the very first chart, if you like, of history. So witnessing that first chapter of history is a tremendous honor. It also carries with it tremendous responsibility to get the story right, to get the details right, and always realize that you have a lot of people depending on you in terms of capturing the story and relaying what's happening in parts of the world that very often don't get coverage and should.
Thank you so much. That sounded so amazing. Love to hear more. So, as I said earlier, you were a member of the Irish Girl Guides when you were younger. And was there anything that you actually learned while being a member, or anything funny memory, or is there anything that can be brought over to your career now?
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I was invited to take part this evening, I discussed it with my mom, actually, because my mom was the founder of the local chapter of the Girl Guides, where I grew up in Cork. So we were discussing it a few days ago, and she reminded me that, in fact, she was inspired to open the local chapter because she said I had been complaining at home that there was nothing in our local community for young girls. Basically, there was no local camogie team. There was the GAA for boys, hurling and football, but I was complaining, apparently, I don't remember this, I was complaining that there was nothing for girls. So my mom felt that that was something that needed to be addressed, and that's how she started the local chapter. So I can remember I was a brownie and then later a Girl Guide, and I have really fond memories of that time. You know, all the trips we took, but also the work we did locally within the community, whether it was anti-litter campaigns, whether it was organizing cake sales for charity, etc., but also the other regular activities of the guides, the camping, the hikes, the trekking, the orienteering, all of those activities that build the kind of sense of teamwork as well as leadership. And that's something I think that was really, really important in terms of encouraging that sense of working together as a team, and the importance of teamwork, the importance of pulling together with your fellow Girl Guides was really, really important, as well as, you know, encouraging all of us individually to be leaders and to think of ourselves as leaders, and what leadership means on a very personal level, but also how you can affect your immediate environment and your community. All of those lessons were really, really key. But of course, it was also great fun as well. And, you know, the memories, particularly of the camping and the trekking, the outdoor activities, that was a lot of fun. I have to say that sometimes the fact that my mom was one of the leaders was a little difficult at times, but it was so much fun, and I have great memories of that time.
The ultimate like girl power move is opening up your own unit. So that's really cool to know. You have had experience of working with different member organizations in WAGs. Do you want to kind of delve a bit deeper into that?
Sorry, Sarah, I missed the question.
No, are you fine? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So you've had, what do I say now? Sorry. You've had experience of working with different Girl Guide organizations and Scout organizations. Do you want to kind of delve a bit deeper into that and kind of maybe compare the two with Irish Girl Guides and...
Sure. So actually, it's interesting, I guess, because I have that background in the guides in Ireland, but throughout my career and traveling and working in the different places that I have, I've come across the Girl Guides in different countries. And you know, for the last 6 years, I've been focusing almost exclusively on Libya, more as a researcher and analyst as opposed to journalist now. But back in 2011, when we had the series of uprisings and revolutions across the Middle East and North Africa that many people referred to as the Arab Spring, where we saw many governments being overthrown. One of the countries, of course, was Libya. And I arrived in Libya at a very early stage in the Libyan revolution. I arrived in Benghazi around 10 days after the very first protests against the Gaddafi regime had started. And what I was really struck by was in Benghazi, which at that time was the kind of heart of the revolution, I saw Boy Scouts and Girl Guides. And it was something unexpected for me. I didn't expect to see them in Libya because Muammar Gaddafi's Libya was a dictatorship. It was very closed society. Libya was very cut off from the world. So when I saw them and I asked local people, wow, you know, so tell me about the Scouts and the Guides here. And people told me that they had actually existed in Libya since the early 60s. that they were one of the few organizations that Gaddafi actually allowed to exist in Libya. And as a result, they were really precious to people. The movement was very, very popular in Libya and very much loved. And that was clear to me in Benghazi at that time. So I saw the Scouts and the Guides doing things in Benghazi, like picking up litter, humanitarian assistance, volunteering with distributing food, etc., etc. And they were really impressive, and there were so many of them. It really struck me. So it's a story that I have followed in Libya since 2011. Regularly speaking to members of the Scouts and the Girl Guides. And during my last trip to Libya, which was in December last year, I spent some time actually with the Girl Guides in Tripoli. I went to one of their ceremonies. They had an outdoor ceremony where they were basically inducting a new group into the Guides. And it was really impressive. And also impressive and quite moving, talking to the young Libyan women in the Guides and hearing their stories, and again being reminded of the importance of a movement like the Girl Guides in a country like Libya. Because Libya is a very socially conservative country, and that means very often that for young Libyan women, there are very few public spaces for them. There are a lot of restrictions in terms of where they can go, how they conduct their life, etc. So the Girl Guides really gives them that space and an opportunity to kind of occupy a different space. And it also, again, I mean, imagine when you think of what the Girl Guides offer young Irish women in terms of the opportunities. Imagine then in a society like Libya, where it's more conservative and the public space that girls occupy is much smaller. So in the Libyan context, you could see that everything that the Guides bring to girls and young women in a place like Ireland is magnified in a place like Libya. It's really, really precious. And I do believe that in a place like Libya, it's even more valuable in terms of building a generation of young Libyan women who hopefully will take on more leadership positions in their society in so many different ways.
That was absolutely amazing to hear. My question actually links in with a question that someone put into our live chat here. It's just about how Girl Guide helped you understand what leadership meant. Oh, it's on the screen. And how did that help you understand? I'm after going all over the place. Yeah, so what type of leadership have you encountered in your work?
Well, I think we can say that leadership means many different things, right? In terms of, it depends on on where you are, the environment you're living in, the environment you're working in. It means different things to different people. But I think what we can all agree on is, particularly when we're talking about encouraging a sense of leadership in young girls, right, who are at a particular stage in their life. They're, figuring out what they want to possibly pursue in terms of career, etc. So I think, it's about a sense of leadership that comes from a place of confidence and, knowing what you are capable of. Knowing that how you basically meet your own potential, but also I always connect leadership to teamwork. I don't agree with this idea that leadership is a very individual or solo thing. I think it's very much connected to teamwork and cooperation, and I think certainly in the times we live in today, which is a very interconnected world where people are connected in so many different ways in terms of technology, etc., then leadership takes on a very, very different kind of aspect. And it is completely rooted in that idea of working with others as opposed to, working with others and leading others, but the two feed into the other.
So I have just one more question for you. Kind of foreign correspondence does tend to be a male-dominant career. but I read an article last week and stated that not many women actually win awards for it, and you did for your Northern Ireland reports. And I'm just wondering, do you have any advice for any young women or girls thinking of going into the field, or any general comments on it?
So you're right in terms of, actually, I would say that once upon a time it was true that the journalism more generally, or certainly certain types of journalism were male dominated. But when it comes to foreign correspondent work, and specifically reporting on war and conflicts, it's no longer really the case that this is male dominated. I've been really struck over the last 10 years by the number of women now who are reporting from conflict zones. They're reporting from difficult places, parts of the world. What I'm really impressed by is the fact that in the Middle East and North Africa, we see more and more young women from those countries covering war and conflict and the challenges in those countries. So it has changed. There was a time when this was seen as somehow the domain of men. But I've always argued that being a woman is in fact an advantage in many respects, in that I remember when, for example, I reported from Afghanistan, where a country which is very conservative and the roles of men and women are very clearly demarcated, if you like. And as a woman who was not from Afghanistan, I didn't fit into those very clear dividing lines in terms of Afghan society. So I was able to interview men, including Taliban leaders in Afghanistan. But at the same time, I was able to spend time with Afghan women. Now, a male reporter, if male reporter from Ireland or a TV reporter or photographer, he would not have the access to Afghan women that I had, because men were simply not allowed to meet with Afghan women. So in that respect, you straddle two worlds, and being a woman was an advantage. But I think really today we cannot say, and it's a great thing. I'm delighted to see so many women covering what was doing what was once considered men's work, which should not have been the case anyway.
Do you have any tips for anyone thinking of getting into the career of journalism?
Many. I think I always say when I'm asked to, I'm often asked to speak to journalism students, and I often say that this is work that is in many respects a vocation. It's something that most people who go into journalism really feel it in their bones that they want to be journalists. They really feel a sense of vocation. They have what I call a hunger for the news, but also a strong sense of the importance of journalism in our societies, in a democracy, etc. The role of journalists in terms of holding the powerful to account, reporting, and the responsibility that comes with that. What I have noticed in recent years is that some people are drawn to a career in journalism for other reasons, which I think very often means that they get discouraged when they start off in journalism, because they realize it's difficult work. You're not going to earn stratospheric salaries in journalism. It's hard work. And if you don't have that passion for the work, if you don't have that hunger for the work, as I mentioned before, if you don't have that sense of vocation, it will be difficult, I think, for you to stay with the work. And that's why I've seen people over the years who thought they wanted to be journalists and actually realized after a couple of years that it wasn't the right fit for them. So I think it's important to kind of feel that sense of vocation. Also, I would make the point that the media sector is changing a lot and changing dramatically as a result of new technologies, which means that people are consuming news in different ways. So, I remember a time when more people read newspapers, bought daily newspapers and read them every day. That is dying out, as we know. People get their information online and in various ways online with through various different outlets. And while there are some journalists who see those dramatic changes as a threat to the vocation, if you like, of journalism, I can see why people would feel that way, but also I think that there are a lot of opportunities here, and it's up to the generation coming up. So those who are in, for example, the Girl Guides now, who are thinking about a career in journalism in the future, it's really that generation that is going to remake this even further, that will have new ideas, bring new ideas and thoughts and perspectives in terms of how you remake the vocation of journalism so that it's fit for purpose for the new generation and a world that is changing more swiftly than ever before.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was so inspiring, really, really enjoyable, and I've learned a lot more about journalism. So as we were talking there, that leaders and girls come from all different backgrounds. So we are going to show a short video about our leaders and how they come from all walks of life, and then we're going to all pop back up on the screen and do a quick Q&A. So we'll see you all in a few minutes.
Thank you, Sarah.
So just to start off with that video, that's a bit of a shameless plug. We're always looking for leaders. So if anyone's watching and would love to get involved, either a youth member or leader, send us an email at info@irishgirlguides.ie and we will be able to get you in touch with your closest unit. So does anyone have any questions that you want to put in the chat? So there was a question from Shannon. Hi Shannon. Shannon is a leader with me in Galway, and a unit in Galway are currently doing a project on fast fashion, and they're looking for advice on how to get stuff in the media. So how to promote, this is for you, Mary, sorry. How to promote what you're passionate about in the media. Sorry, Mary, that's just for you, just in relation to how you interact with the media and how to get what you're passionate about into the media.
Sarah, the sound, I hope you can hear me. The sound is skipping slightly on my side. So any tips for young people who want to get the media behind the causes and issues that they're passionate about? Yes, related to what I said earlier, young people these days have so many tools at their disposal that were not available 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Social media, particularly social media like Twitter, even, TikTok these days as well, which is, these are tools that you can use to basically get your message out and reach audiences. If you are able to craft a campaign, a message that is compelling, that appeals, that taps into something, you will see that message then gains a momentum. And if you look at young people like Greta Thunberg, for example, who has managed to basically create a momentum through a very, very compelling message that she articulates in her own world. So I think if you basically bring those tools, which are at your disposal, those social media tools, together with a very good and compelling message, then the world in many respects is your oyster. But it's about getting that message out. And remember, 15 years ago, those tools did not exist. So the distance between young people who want to kind of bring attention to a particular cause and media outlets was much greater. That distance is now much smaller. So you have the tools there to put that message out there.
Thank you. That was fantastic. So another question just came in. What was the most important lesson you've learned from your activities within the Irish Girl Guides to date? I don't know how we're going to work this, but I can go first. I can call out names then. Mine would be resilience. I've done a lot of hiking challenges over the last 2 years. Some were 10 days long, and I was given a map and had to find my way back. Hiking for 10 days. So yeah, resilience. In those situations, you do need resilience, and sometimes even planning events, things don't go to plan, and you just kind of power through and getting stuff done. So for me, it will be resilience. Next on my screen, I see Emily.
I think for me, it's definitely confidence. I think if you know what you're doing and you are headstrong and doing the right thing, just go with it head first and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it.
Thank you. Jenna, you're next there.
I think one of the most important lessons that I've learned is to be myself, no matter what that is, and to be confident, like Emily said, and to always stand up for what you believe in, even if it's not necessarily what other people think is right.
Beth?
I think the most important lesson I've learned is that you're part of a team of amazing people, and that they're there to support you in whatever you want to do. So whether that's something, the next step you're going to take in guides or in your life outside, they have that confidence to boost you up or to pass on skills that you don't necessarily have yourself. So don't try and do it on your own.
Teagan?
Probably one of the most important things that I've learned is that my voice matters, that use it and we can achieve a lot with it.
Mary?
So, a combination of everything we've heard so far. There are some really great words there in terms of resilience, confidence, etc. But I would also add that one thing I think that being in the Girl Guides at a young age taught me as well was the importance, and it's related to what I was saying earlier about teamwork and cooperation, but the importance of sisterliness. Feeling that with your group of Girl Guides, that you're teammates, you work together as opposed to competing with each other or being rivals, or not kind of working against each other. That you see the importance at a very young age of working together, and how working together, the benefits of working together far outweigh what one gains by working against each other. So I think that was really a really, really important lesson at a young age.
And Patricia?
For me, I think the most important lesson was just, if you want to try do something, go for it, and there will always be people to support you. Because at 16, I've gotten to do amazing things, so why can't everyone else? Everyone should have the opportunity to do what they want to do, and they can all do it if they want to.
Thank you for that. It's really inspirational. So there's another question in the chat. I think it's going to pop up screen. Yeah. What would your life be like without Girl Guides? I'd have more time. My life wouldn't be boring, but it'd be less eventful without guiding. I wouldn't have some of my closest friends in my life that I made sure guiding. And I just wouldn't have so many kind of memories that revolve around laughter. So my life would be a bit more quieter and a bit more boring without Girl Guides. We go in the same order again. So Emily?
I honestly can't even imagine my life without Girl Guides. I started when I was 4, I think. Well, I was 5, but my mommy was actually trying to get me in when I was 4. She was that eager. So, I've met some of my closest friends through guides. I've been all over the world through guides. I think I would say my life would be very boring without it. To be honest, there's always a camp. There's always something to do. Always something to keep me busy, and always something to be excited for when you're in guides.
Jenna?
I don't think I would have gone in the career direction that I've gone in if it wasn't for Girl Guides. I think I've learned a lot of skills that are adaptable to my professional life as well, which is really good. So that would probably be the one thing that would be different.
Beth?
I think I'd be shyer, like a lot quieter and shyer, which people who know me now through guiding in life probably wouldn't believe. But me before guiding, which like Emily was at 5, there's not much of a life for me before guiding because it's been my whole life for most of my life. But yeah, shyer. I don't think I'd be here talking to a group of people through like this internet but that I can't even see. So I definitely think I'd be shyer, yeah.
Teagan?
Without guides, I don't think I'd be powerful. I don't think I'd feel powerful enough and brave enough and confident enough to advocate for things outside of guiding, like in my community, without the tools that I got from guides.
Mary?
Well, I think as you go through life, you as you advance in life, I guess, get older, you look back to what's brought you to this particular point, right? And you can see particular chapters in your life and episodes in your life and stages in your life that you can see from a distance in hindsight were instrumental and really helped shape you at really critical times. And I see my period in the Girl Guides as being one of those kind of critical episodes in terms of the lessons learned at such a young age and the building blocks that the guides kind of represented and helped me with. And now throughout my career in terms of connecting with Girl Guides in some of the countries that I've worked in, there's always that connection there. It's something that you have in common and it builds that, creates that immediate bond. When I meet young Libyan women who either are in the Girl Guides or were in the Girl Guides at a particular point, there is a common bond there. And that's very special, the fact that transcends national borders. That's a global universal bond, and that's special.
Thank you, Mary. Patricia?
I think for me it's just a mixture of what everyone said. I wouldn't be as confident to do the things I've done. Like, I wouldn't have anything near the confidence I have now. Some of my closest friends I've met through guides. The trips I've been on through guides are amazing, and I don't know what my life would be like without guides. I don't remember it ever being without guides. So yeah.
Thank you all. For me, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed hearing everyone's stories. And yeah, so I just think it's been an amazing hour and 45 minutes. And we have some amazing graphics that Leo is going to pop up on screen now in a second that'll help us sum up the whole guiding journey that we've been on for the past hour and 45 minutes. So yeah, we started off going on a trip to India, and we came out learning about leadership skills and responsible consumption and how 1 week-long trip has turned into this national program. Don't know if there's any more graphics coming up. Yeah, there is. Teagan, Patricia, do you want to talk through your sum up? Oh. Okay, no, okay, perfect. Yeah. So we had a graphic designer in the back designing these as we spoke, and they're really, really cool. It's my first time seeing them. So yeah, we spoke about how one trip has turned into this huge program to get girls thinking about their plastic consumption, about fast fashion. And yeah, if we can go on to the next one there, Leo. And then we went onto the Juliette Low Seminar, which is a flagship leadership seminar for young women in WAGs. That is very, very small. And it was based on the Sustainable Development Goal 5. Oh, we're all back. Things keep popping up. Yeah, so that was Emily and Beth explained about their different experiences in 2 different countries. I think there's another graphic coming up, is there? No? Perfect. Then we went on to Jenna, who spoke about her time being a volunteer for our world organisation WAGs and being, we're after going forward. And Jenna spoke about being international commissioner and how she wants to help girls experience the international part of guiding. That's really cool. Can we pop over to the next one? Yeah. And then we spoke to Mary about her amazing career and about experiencing guiding in different countries and what skills she learned as a girl guide down in Cork and how she brought it into her everyday life and her career. So I do hope you've enjoyed this session. It was really, really great to see how other girls experience it compared to me as well. So I totally enjoyed this. Yeah, so I hope you've learned that kind of the Irish Girl Guides kind of give girls confidence. We are this ultimate kind of girl power organisation. And if you have any questions or any queries, or if you'd want to get involved in the Irish Girl Guides as leader or as a youth member, please send us an email. Beth's on the other side of the email at info@irishgirls.ie. And there's also a survey. I don't know if you can see the little pink line at the bottom of the screen about a Survey Monkey link. It'd be great if we could get some feedback on this for our next session, if we ever do a session like this again. So any positive comments or any feedback you'd like to give, the link is in the comments. National Youth Council of Ireland just put the link in the comments there. Thank you again for tuning in and listening to us for the last nearly 2 hours now. So yeah, thank you. Bye.